Hi, so we're on the pocket book, which is not going to fit in my pocket, but it's got lots of pockets in it. We're doing page 2 this time, so we've done page 1, this is page 2. This has got lots of little flat pockets with divider bits on them and a few colours there. So in the book here it's page 2, which is on the back side of page 1. Just to give you an idea. So the stiff stuff that I've used in the pages, in fact to make the whole thing, is a product, the one I'm actually using is called Fast to Fuse, and that means it's got some fusible on it. We don't particularly need it to be fusible for this project. It's kind of handy that you can iron it to it, but it's not essential. There's other products on the market. I'm sorry I don't know the names of all of them. I believe there's something called Timtex, which is a very similar product, and there'll be others. It's got to be stitchable and so that you can sew through it. That is the main thing, but it's holding its shape nicely. I have actually made other products out of this, or other items. I made a big salad bowl at one stage, and it's been with me on my travels in suitcases, and it gets a little squashed and misshapen in the case, but you know, within just a couple of hours it's popped back into shape again. I think it's just wonderful stuff. So I really enjoy using it. It's giving the form to the book, which has been a really good idea. So just in case you haven't used it before, I'll just show you that it's really just the same as fabric to cut. So I'll cut a couple of the squares that we need for the pages, just so that you can see there's nothing hard about doing it. It is a little bit, when it's in a longer length, it's a little bit harder to manage, so a longer ruler is quite good because usually it comes about 20 inches wide. Other than that, it's really just the same as cutting fabric. Nothing hard about that. So you can see that you don't need to be frightened by a product like that. You may want to use something else. If you want the pages to be nice and stiff like that, it's also washable, all those sorts of things. It would make it, to me, this is a very good product, so or something like it. So we'll go ahead now with page 2 with our pockets. So this one we don't start with a whole, we do need a square of the stiff stuff this time. We don't start with a square of the whole thing, but we've got to make our little pockets. So the pockets have a little lining on them, so this strip that's along the top of the pocket here goes right down inside so that it's fully lining the actual pocket. So we just need to get our bits sorted out. Everything's labelled in the notes so that you can work out what goes with what. There's a diagram that shows you your A's, B's and C's and how they go together. So I just need to decide, well, I've already decided, these are going to be my strips. So my back, what I'm calling my background, the bit between the pockets, I've got 3 colours here for, and then these, the red is going to be my actual pocket where this lovely greeny colour is, and then the blue is my lining with a little bit that comes over the top. So just to make the pockets, we just need to put them right sides together and stitch along a top edge. So just make sure you get the right pieces with the right pieces, and then we're just going to stitch that top edge. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back and show you how we press them so that they all end up as the right sort of pockets. So I've gone ahead, I've done my stitching so that my pocket pieces are right sides together, and my lining should be larger because it's going to be flipped back very shortly. So we're going to press the seam now towards that lining colour, towards, in my case, the blue. And then we're going to press that so that those raw edges are together again, and that should leave some of the blue showing along the top edge of the pocket. So it's got a very nice little edge on this pocket. So it'll look like that. Our raw edges should be even, and then I'm suggesting that we just do a line of stitching just in the ditch, just to hold that edge, and it actually just gives it a little bit of extra stability as well. So I've gone ahead and I've done my stitch in the ditch on this one here. You can see there's a line of stitching along here, and I've just got to finish pressing this one, and then I'll stitch them both in the ditch, and then I'll come back and show you how we put the next bits together. So I've gone ahead and I've done my little bit of stitching in the ditch on my pockets, and now I'm just laying them onto my background pieces. So I know that this is my top piece, this is my middle, and this is my lower piece. They're slightly different sizes because we have to allow for the extra seam allowance around the outside of the page for making the page up. So I've gone ahead and I've just, you could pin them, you could stitch them on if you want to. just clip the pockets in place at the moment because we're just going to join the seams and we need the pocket to be in there. So all the raw edges should be even on all the 3 pieces. So now it's just a matter of joining as normal right sides together with your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and the same on this one as well, so that you'd end up with the whole page the right size. So I'll go ahead and do those seams and show you the next stage. So I've gone ahead and I've done my 2 seams, I've sewn my 3 segments together, so that everything's sitting nicely. I've pressed the seams down so that, because it's kind of bulky, because you've actually got 4 layers of fabric there, so press the seams facing down, and then we just need to top stitch those, but we're going to do that because we're going to have a little bit of fun and put it onto a stiff page this time. So I've also gone and sewn up the sides, just 1/4 inch in along the bottom and up the sides, just to hold those pocket edges so that everything stays where it should be. So because mine is fusible, I'm going to make sure the fusible side is towards the back of my page, but as I said, it's not essential that this be fusible. You can just put things in place and they will pretty much stay there. I find things are quite cooperative. The fabrics I'm using are very delicious batik fabrics. You can use, of course, any fabrics for this sort of thing. You could put all sorts of textures as well as the pockets in if you wanted to. I just happen to like these batiks. So I'm just pressing that, and because it is a little bit fusible, it will just fuse just a little bit, but it won't be enough to hold it anyway, so I'm probably going to suggest that you put a couple of clips or pins in as well, just to make sure things don't wander around too much, because we're going to do some stitching through. So just make sure that you've got 1/2 inch all the way around, so that your stiff page is nice and centre on the fabrics. So what we want to do now to hold it all in place is stitch right through, right on the 2 background bits, maybe 1/8 of an inch or even closer to that edge there, just to hold everything in place, and that will allow the pockets to work quite nicely as well. So again, stitching on this is no different to stitching anything else. In fact, it's kind of nice because it's nice and firm. So I'm just going to stitch along. So I'm very close to that seam, but I'm on the green bit here. Just a regular straight stitch all the way along, and then I'll do another one along down here as well. So I've gone ahead, I've stitched my 2 lines of sewing so everything's held together nicely now. Now we just need to put some dividers in the pocket so that they're nice little different ones. So the way I've done this page is I've made a division halfway along in the top one so that we've got 2 little pockets, then 2 dividers here, and then 3 in the lower one. So to mark that, you want to mark your halfway point along. So you want to get a pin or something like that initially and pop a pin in at halfway, because we're going to be stitching halfway there. And then you could put another one in at the lower side as well, because we're stitching right down across just the pocket itself. So you could put another pin in there, and then you just want to draw yourself a line, just a light one, because you're going to be stitching. You don't want to leave a big line on there. And so I'm not sure if you can see that, but I have got a line, and I'm just going to start, this is the opening for the pocket here. I'm going to start ever so slightly past that so that it locks there, and I'll do a back stitch there to hold that, just to give it extra reinforcement, and then come down and then lock off still within the red area here. And then when I mark the next row, because they're going to be either side, we can't kind of just divide this by 3 because we're going to be losing some of that. So we're trying to make everything look right and symmetrical within our finished page size. So again, I would suggest if you're going to be dividing it that way, that you would mark again the halfway, but this time you're not going to be sewing there. We're going to be sewing a little bit further away either side of that line. And so the same thing, you might like to just draw a line, and you could get them all drawn. So you're not doing the center one on this row, you're just doing the 2 side ones. And then the lower one has got 3 lines of stitching, so we do want the center one. So we're going to mark there, and then this time we're coming away a different amount, and all these measurements are written in the pattern, So you can see it all there. And again, we'll draw the lines so that we can stitch them. And so if you get them all marked before you start, you can stitch them all at once. Well, one at a time, but you don't have to keep stopping to mark again. So there's 3 little lines in that lower segment there. So I'll just do one of them just so that you can see what I mean about the starting and stopping. So I'm going to start ever so, like the needle just goes in just above the dark blue line there, so just above. And you can, if it lock off, that'll be good. But I also just like to do just a couple of back stitches on there, just to give it extra reinforcement, because when we put things in and outer pockets, it can pull against that. And then, so I'm going through all layers. Remember, I've got the stiff stuff behind, and again, I just want to stop within the red area there and lock off, and then I can cut my threads. So that is really just the pocket being stitched. It'll be nice and strong. So now I'm going to come back and do my other ones, and then I'll show it to you when it's finished. So I've gone ahead, I've done my pocket dividing stitching. You can probably see it better on the back. So I've got my little lines of sewing there. So that's going to enable me, once we've got our seam sewn for the page, we'll have 2 pockets here, 3 here, and they're fairly flat pockets, but you might collect cards, you might have packets of needles, you might think of all sorts of things, I'm sure you will. And there's going to be 4 pockets down on the lower row there. So that's that page done. That just needs to be set aside now till we can join it together to its other side so that we can make it into a page for the book.